because they have personality. Personality. You're a bit like me, but different as can be. Personality. Personality. Appreciate the ones who drive you most crazy. Welcome, everybody. My name is Merrick Rosenberg, and we have some very special guests here today. We have Tiffany and Brandon Ward, and we're going to have some fun. We are going to talk about bringing personality to children. How can you communicate using personality? How can we get kids to tap into the power of their personality? For so long, personality styles and tools and assessments have been brought into corporations all around the world. It's time to bring them into schools. It's time to bring them to children. If there's one thing that I have heard more than anything when I travel around the world talking about style, it's I wish I knew this when I was younger. So let's bring it to this generation of kids and talk about how they can use their style to tap into their power. So let me just introduce Brandon and Tiffany. We'll get started. Brandon and Tiffany, as you guessed, you could probably guess by their last names, are married. They've been married for 16 years. They have 4 children. I don't know how you do that. I have 2, and that's overwhelming. So I'm impressed already. They are authors, coaches, master facilitators. They run team building programs. They help schools. They are master certified DISC practitioners, and they just help people to be better humans. So thank you, Brandon and Tiffany, for joining us today. We're going to have some fun.
Thank you so much, Merrick. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on and be able to talk with everyone about what we have going on. But first, I want to actually do a little introduction of you. I know we talked about us. Let's talk about you. So I will want to introduce Merrick. He is the co-founder of Team Builders Plus, which is one of the first team building companies in the United States back in 1991. So that's awesome. In 2012, he reinvented on how people would learn about themselves through their personality styles and started his second company, Take Flight Learning. He is an author of 5 books. So there you go. So you're right there with you. And he's also big about tapping into your powers of your personalities, which includes the Chameleon and personality wins. Merrick has worked with more than half of the Fortune 100 companies in the US and around the world. Merrick's leadership is the CEO of Take Flight Learning and the creator of Kids Dis and Which Bird Are You? And he has been selected for the New Jersey's Business of the Year by New Jersey Business Magazine and has repeatedly been named one of the fastest growing companies and best places to work in Philadelphia area by Philadelphia Business Journal. That is a resume. So thank you so much for having us be on your platform.
Oh, absolutely. Let's have some fun. So let's start off before we talk about bringing the styles into schools. Let's talk about the 4 styles themselves. Now, style has been around for a very long time. It's been around for thousands of years. The challenge is that the way that we are teaching people, whether it's children or adults today, is an alphabet soup of letters. People just don't remember them. So I'm going to show you how we can teach people about themselves using style in a very visual way. You already have a little hint on the screen there. You can see the eagles, parrots, doves, and owls. So let's talk about it. And let's bring all of you in. If you have questions, I'm going to ask you, put your questions in the Q&A button. So click Q&A and we will answer questions at the end. If, as we go through, I may ask you questions to join in, which I'm about to do. You can put those in the chat. So you'll see what I mean in a second. So let's do it. So let's start off and let's just real quickly explain the 4 styles and then we'll show you how we integrate them into schools. So let's start off with the eagle. When you think of an eagle, what are their traits? What are their characteristics? What are the 4 styles all about? So I'm going to actually have you add your comments to the chat right now. So what I would like you to do is when you think, click on that chat button. When you think of someone who is an eagle, what do you think they are like? So put some characteristics, some traits, type them into the chat. Let's see what you come up with. What does your gut say? If somebody is an eagle, what would that person be like? Let's join in. What do you think? Do you think they are big picture? Do you think they're detail oriented? Do you think they're direct? Do you think they're indirect? So when you think of an eagle, eagles tend to be people, I'll add some here, words like results oriented, bottom line, direct, and decisive. So when you think about someone who is a parrot, they have a very different energy. Parrots are talkative, they are fun. We don't think of parrots as very quiet and reserved and introverted. Exactly the opposite. When we think of parrots, we think of their enthusiasm and their energy and their optimism, and they're excited. They always bring positive energy wherever they go. Now, you can probably guess eagles and parrots tend to be pretty outgoing, but we also have two styles that may be a little bit more reserved. So let's talk about those for a moment. We've got the dove. Doves tend to be very harmonious. I mean, think about the first word you think of when you think of a dove. It's probably peace or caring. And they are. They're very peaceful. They're very compassionate and helpful. They're good listeners. They're empathetic. Finally, we have the owl. Now, if you think about the owl style, owls are logical and they want things to be right. And if an owl's going to do something, you can bet they're going to do it properly. They are systematic, they are questioning, they are detailed, they have a system and a plan and a process. Myself, I happen to have one son who is a parrot. I have one son who is an owl. You can see the difference immediately. I know with Brandon and Tiffany, I'm sure having 4 children. And if I'm correct, you have one of each, don't you?
We do. We have one of each, and it is such a journey going through and understanding each of their styles when we initially started this, but we are seeing the development of what they have become and what they're becoming too.
I bet road trips are very fun with all 4 of different styles.
Oh yeah, I have some stories for that as well.
I love looking at the differences between our kids because we can see the styles play out. We'll see it in the classroom. We'll see it with teachers. We'll see it with parents. We'll see it with children. I love this example. I just think of my own kids where my 2 boys, Halloween is always just a fun time. We would go out, take my kids out. They would go trick or treating. Parrot child comes home, dumps his candy on the floor. A few minutes later, starts eating. 2 weeks later, it's gone. My owl child comes home, dumps his candy on the floor, and you know what exactly he does before he eats anything. Brandon, Tiffany, what do you think? For an owl?
For an owl? Inventory. So separated, figure it out.
Rationed it.
Yes.
Chocolates went to the chocolate section, peanut butter, peanuts.
Absolutely. Got to take inventory. And so everything gets sorted. Exactly right. I had one year I walked by my parrot. It was like Christmas. My parrot child's bowl, long gone. It's empty. He's eaten his candy weeks ago. My owl child, we're right at Christmas. He still has a ton of candy in his bowl. And I look at him and I'm like, dude, he's like 10 years old. Dude, how do you still have candy in your bowl? And he looks at me as if my question does not compute. And he says, 2 a day. Like, how else would you do it? Like, what are we, animals? Right?
How?
Right? Just like, I mean, did I teach him that? No. I mean, this is how they're hardwired. And so you're going to see that our children have these styles. We have these styles. We're not just one of them. I'm a parrot with a secondary eagle. My wife happens to be an owl, secondary dove. Sometimes that's true. Sometimes it is the opposites that attract. Eagles and doves are often together. Parrots and owls are often together, but it doesn't always work out that way, but that's often the case. But we have children and we have to understand them, and we need to understand that our children have different needs, and what works with one child probably doesn't work with another child. I'm sure you've experienced that. You think, oh, I've got this parenting thing down with our first child, and then you try the same thing with the second child, and it's like, why is this not working?
Complete disaster.
It's that attachment thing. Some children, or some of our children, they were breastfed for longer than others. Some children, we can just leave them in a room and they can do their own thing. Some of our children, they want to be right under us, and they come check on us, come give us a hug, ask us how we're doing. And then some of our children, or one of our children, we never see them throughout the day unless we go find them. So, it's it's a nice balance. But what we've had to do is we've had we've got to learn this, and then we have to learn ourselves so we can be better and teach different.
Yeah. And this is the power of where we're headed, is that how do you use this to help children better understand themselves, help parents better understand themselves, help teachers understand how they're teaching. So let's dig in a little bit and let's show you where do we go, where do we bring this into schools, and how do we bring this to children. So there's a variety of tools that we've created that allow us to teach the styles to kids. So look, if you're in a corporation, if you're in a company, you go to a training program, it's probably 3 hours, it's one and done, and that's it. We can't be one and done with kids, and we shouldn't be doing that with adults either. Learning is a process, it's not an event. So let's show you some of the things that you can utilize to teach our children about themselves. And look, children who understand themselves, just like adults that are self-aware, they put themselves in jobs where they're going to be successful. They have healthier relationships. Children who understand each other and understand themselves, guess what? The drama goes away. So let's show you some of the tools and we'll talk you through them. So first thing is, look, if you were in a company, you'd get a chance to take a profile. Well, yeah, we have a profile that we use for adults, but we also have one that we use for children, and it's called the Which Bird Are You Kids profile. And what's interesting about this profile is that, an adult who takes an assessment, they get to take the assessment and learn about themselves. And there's information in there so they can apply the learning to their relationships, to the job, to their career. When we think about children, we aren't just giving information to the child. You know who else has a big impact on kids? Parents. You know who else has a big impact on kids? Teachers. And so what we felt was we needed to create a tool that not only provided information for the child, but also provided information for parents and for teachers. So the report itself actually has 3 different sections. One for the child, what's your superpower? What makes you special? One for parents, how do you parent this child? How do you guide this child through life's challenges? And one for teachers. How do you help that child in the classroom? So there are 3 sections. Let's just show you. I'll show you what it looks like, give you a little taste of it here with our flip book. So we start off nice and simple. I'm going to ease us through. I'm going to flip through pretty fast, but I'll show you. We start off and you get a sense of, on the right, you meet the eagle, you meet the parrot. What is their motto? The eagle, I got this. The parrot, we can do it. We're a group, we're a team. Gives you some characteristics about the birds. For the dove, let's help each other. For the owl, be smart about it, right? Owls are very thoughtful and wise and they think things through. So you start to get a sense of what the birds are like, and you even get a little sense of, in the wild, what are they like? And why did we pick eagles, parrots, doves, and owls to symbolize the 4 styles? From there, we move on, we talk about their strengths, and sometimes we overuse our strengths and might get in the way. We talk about the fact that there are many styles, and we're not just one of them. We're a combination. Some of us have 1, some have 2, some have 3. So what's interesting is the child then gets a graph. If anybody's taken a DISC assessment, the interesting thing about DISC, for many people who know the DISC styles, DISC has been around a very long time, but nobody owns DISC. It's out there in the public domain. Anybody can create an assessment using the DISC model. Our model parallels the DISC model, but it is based on the 4 styles that we call eagles, parrots, doves, and owls. So same 4 styles, we just make it more visual. You get a full page description on the child. So now we're still in this child section, helping the child understand what makes them special. What are they like at school? What are they like when they're with friends? What are some of the things they should do? What are some of the things that maybe they shouldn't do? Give them some helpful hints. What are they like during sports? Here's how you can interact better with people who are different styles. So we're teaching the kids how to interact with others. And then they get an action planning section, which helps them to set some goals, to help them figure out, how do I use my style and be the best version of myself? But we didn't stop there. From there, it moves to parenting the 4 styles. Look, anybody who has 2 kids, you can't parent them the same way. I mean, I picture just my own children. I could not parent my owl child the same way as I did my parrot child. So, and I'm sure once again, you probably have many examples of this in your life, right?
Oh, yes. Yes. We actually, with all four of our children, we have realized that we just have to start from scratch right from the beginning. One of the things about having each of the styles is that we have been able to have an opportunity to learn how to adapt, but not all parents have all of the styles. I remember with our oldest, when he was about 6, he showed a lot of parrot activities. He had a parrot behavior. However, over time, he's grown to become an owl, and we had to see that development through situations and environments that were happening at school that made him be more reserved in his thought process. One of the funniest things I do remember that he did when he was about 7 or 8 years old was he came to me and he was so adamant, Mom, I have to talk to you right now. For only $14.99, we can buy Kinetics sand online right now for the low price, but you have to act now and you have to have a parent or guardian's permission. So I'm coming to you because I need the permission so that I can then use some form of ID and card to be able to do this. And I'm like, oh, so you've really thought this through, because you've thought about it so well, I'm going to get you that kinetic sand. So it was the way that he sold it. But he was also, at that time, I'm not realizing, yes, he was showing parrot personality, but he was also showing that owl personality, which he decided to develop more into. But when it comes to our other children, it's about starting all over and repeating the cycle and then just adapting and learning them a little bit more.
That's awesome. You have a future salesperson who not only can sell with charisma, but can focus on features and benefits as well. That's awesome. Yes. That's awesome. So,
what?
Yeah.
You know what, Merrick, I want to say on this real quick. They always say that parenting doesn't come with a book, right? It doesn't come with a book, but to just have a little bit of knowledge and information and wisdom on pointers on that can help us. I'm telling you, it has been a complete game changer. Like, you always think about, you don't want to be manipulative, but if you can treat people the way that they want to be treated, and you can ask the way they want to be asked, you can get better results all the time. So it's definitely helped my parenting. And I think that it'll help out anybody, because sometimes we let our personality dominate the environment. And we got to remember that we create the environment as parents. And as parents, if we're creating an environment that is uncomfortable for our child, we're putting them in a situation to where possibly they can't thrive. So it was just made me very aware of it. And I was just so grateful for the pointers that it gave me.
Yeah, that's awesome. And look, this parenting section really speaks to that notion that we need to think about, what do our children need from us? And our children need different things depending upon their style. And so you can see here, you get an overview of this is your child. You get an overview of here are tips of how to treat your child. Here's how your child might act and react in relationships, and here's what you need to know, and here's what you need to do. There's a section on how do you keep your child safe. One of our responsibilities as parents is to watch our children and when they're younger and keep them safe. And different kids have different needs. I have a parrot child. He was very difficult to keep safe. He thought that playground equipment should be used in new and creative ways. Like a swing set is not to swing on the swing, but to stand on the top of the bar, because wouldn't that be a great use of a swing set? My owl child, he probably used 2 Band-Aids in his entire life. My parrot child, I took him to emergency rooms a few times, because what could happen? What is the worst thing that could happen? So what we see is, here are tips and strategies for parents, and then we do the same thing for teachers. And look, I experienced this with my children and their teachers, where I remember both of my sons, we went to elementary school, and we went to back to school night. We go to meet the teachers, and first teacher, this is from my parrot child, says, what a fun kid, what a great kid. Sometimes, he crosses the line a little with his humor, but he's a great kid, but he just needs to slow down because he's just making too many mistakes. Yeah, because he's a parrot. Parrots go fast, they aren't as careful. 20 minutes later, I go meet my owl child's teacher, and she says, what a great kid, but he needs to speed up. He's not finishing his work. It's so beautiful, but he's not getting it done. And I wanted to say, yes, because he's an owl. And I didn't have a language to be able to explain that to the teachers. I don't know, I tried to use the birds and say, well, let me tell you about them. But they didn't have this as a reference point. If they did, they would be in the classroom and say, okay, he's a parrot. Okay, he's an owl. I get it. And so what the report also does is it shows you, here's as a teacher, what you need to know about teaching this child. What do they need from you? How are they likely to interact in the classroom? If you have an eagle child, they may take over the team. They may be the one who's raising their hand and saying, I'm in charge. If you have a dove child, they may be reserved. You may not hear from them. And so we need to understand who we're talking to. We need to understand how do we train or teach or coach or guide children in the classroom. So that's, yeah.
I want to speak on that real quick, because I think that was actually, and I was thinking, like, what would be the perfect time for a teacher and a student and a parent to be introduced to the profile? And that would be the best time, parent-teacher, or that parent-teacher night, that open house. You know, when it's just you, the child, and it's the teacher, and they can, okay, this is what's been going on over this past 3 weeks. And, you know, they were able to make that observation. But now, how about we take this 30 minutes to go over the profile so we can all learn about the child, we can all learn about each other, and we can all learn how we can better serve the child that we're teaching or that we're speaking of. So I think open house night is the best night for them to introduce it. I think it's a great opportunity. I want to ask you, did you offer it to them, or have you offered it to to the school since?
Yeah, I've spoken to so many teachers. My kids are now, they're older. Now they're 23 and 26. So they're past that point. But I'll tell you, I didn't have this profile when they were younger. I wish I did. So let's keep going. Let me show you another tool that we can provide that can help kids understand themselves. And that is, I wrote 3 books. The first one is the adult version, which is the Chameleon. It's 22 fables. Each fable teaches a different lesson of the styles. And each lesson has within the book a fun story, and then it's followed by what I call the Chameleon wisdom section, which teaches you how to apply that in your life. So whether you're a parent or teacher, if you're an adult, the Chameleon is going to help you learn how to use the styles in your world. Flight School, which it's my newest book. It just came out about 2 weeks ago, so it's in my hand. Flight School is a read aloud book. Children, of course, can read it, but it's a short book, takes about 20-25 minutes to read, and it introduces children to the 4 styles. It teaches them about the 4 birds very quickly. Teachers can use it in the classroom. Parents could read it to their child at home, or kids could read it on their own. But it's a fun, quick story, something without giving it all away. The birds arrive at flight school, and the Chameleon, of course, is the all-knowing, wise, adaptable, and flexible guru master who can take on any style and do whatever is needed in the moment. And they think they're coming to flight school to learn how to fly, and they arrive, and who's the teacher? The wingless Chameleon. And they're like, wait, you don't know how to fly. How are you going to teach us how to fly and soar through the sky? But of course, the Chameleon teaches them lessons about life and about who they are. And it's got a fun little action moment where things are happening and the birds need to come to the rescue. And it's engaging. Hopefully people will like it. The next book, Which Bird Are You, is a little bigger. This one is a chapter book. This is for kids can read it. And it really takes them through learning about themselves and learning about the 4 styles. We follow these 4 children during the day at a camp where they're working together and they have to engage in different team building activities, and we see the styles play out. Of course, there's an eagle child, a parrot child, a dove child, and an owl child. But at night, they are told a fable which takes place over 5 nights or 5 days at the camp, and they are transported to the world of Aviara, where they learn about the eagle kingdom and the parrot kingdom and the dove kingdom and the owl kingdom. So it's got this adventure component to it. It's got a lot of action, but they really learn about the styles and hopefully see themselves in the story. So this is one that can be integrated into the classroom. It's one that can be that children can read and really get a sense of what is the eagle, parrot, dove, and owl. It's time to bring the styles to kids, and this is just a simple and fun way to do it. So hopefully people enjoy those.
You know, Merrick, what I loved about the Chameleon was when the eagle child was adopted by the dove family, it really pushed me to see the adaptability and how no matter how much you push a child to be like you, they're going to be themselves. And if you don't accept it, that it can really hinder a child's progression. So I love the fact that you said for the teachers, they're able to learn about themselves, and then they can learn about how they can adapt to the child style. You think about a teacher as an eagle. If a teacher is an eagle and they're fast paced and they know that they're fast paced, they can at least understand that some children are going to be slower than what they're comfortable with. And I've took that into my parenting. I've taken that into my relationship. I think I've taken that into all my relationship, was just understanding that everyone isn't like me and everyone isn't going to adapt to me. So it's important that I adapt to them. And this book, I'm telling you, it helped me so much because when they put it in the story form, it helped me understand and see the personality that fit inside of each character. And then it taught me how to become a chameleon.
Yes, awesome. I love that. And you know, that first, it's actually one of the, I think it's the first fable, is a couple who are two eagles find a or it's actually a couple who are two doves. They adopt this eagle child, and all of a sudden they're like, what is, you know, the eagle's trying to take over, thinks they're in charge, because even though they have two dove parents, they think I'm the boss, I am in charge here. And you know what we do is we impose our style on others, and that's the issue. As parents, are we imposing our style? I watched a father do this once. I was outside, and we were kind of outside in this court where there's basketball net set up, and I'm watching this father, and I could see this child, and I could tell from his body language, he's a dove. He's very soft-spoken, he's very reserved, and they're playing basketball, and the father's out there, and he's like, get in there, fight for the ball. You don't want people to step on you in life, make it happen. And you can tell this poor kid is like, you know, I just want to play. I'd rather be inside and play my flute. You know, I don't want to be out here. And the father's yelling at him. But the underlying message that the father really is saying, if you were more like me, I would love you. You need to be more like an eagle for me to value who you are. And I don't accept you for who you are. And the father's thinking, oh, I'm teaching him to be strong and confident. No, the message is who you are is not okay. And yes, how often as parents and teachers do we send that message to our kids, as opposed to send the message that we value who you are, and who you are is perfect. You don't need to be someone else. You don't need to be like me. And so that, I hope, is what people will get from learning about their styles and reading.
Definitely. That was me at one time.
I think it's all of us until we learn the lesson. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. So from here, now what? Now it's time to really bring the styles into the classroom. So what did we create next? So we've got profiles, we've got books. Now, how do we bring them into the class? So what we did was we created a teacher's guide, and the teacher's guide has 10 lessons. There are 30 to 40-minute lessons. So you could, for 2 weeks, 5 days each week, you could teach the birds as a set in which you are giving them the wisdom of the 4 styles. Then we, of course, have a couples along with that is we've got a little smaller version, that's the teacher's guide. And then what is a little bigger than that is the supplemental materials, handouts. And it's got, like, you know, there's activities in there, so you can even get like full color images of the birds, and you can print them. So it gives you the tools to be able to bring the birds into the classroom. These are fully scripted, they're fun. Remember, I came from being in this place where I started a team building company back in '91. For me, learning should be fun. It should be activity-based. It should be interactive. They should laugh. They should learn. So it is filled with activities. It's not teacher, lecturer standing in front of a room telling them, here's the birds, here's the styles. It's completely activity filled. So I'll give you a little overview of the 10 lessons. So lesson 1, that's flight school. That's that read aloud book. Let's introduce the birds. Let's get them to understand the 4 styles. It's the quick overview. Let's introduce them and get them to understand that there are 4 personality styles. What is personality? What is style? What are the birds? And what is this all about? And so it introduces that in a fun way. Then we've got four classes, 1 for the eagle, 1 for the parrot, 1 for the dove, one for the owl. They get to meet each of the characters. There's activities for each of these where they get to see the style in action, experience it in action. And then once we have now met the 4 birds, now we answer the 4 questions of the Chameleon code. You see in the book, Which Bird Are You? The Chameleon has a code, and there are 4 questions in the Chameleon code. Question 1, which bird are you? Now the child gets to see the results of their Which Bird Are You kids profile. So now, which bird are you? Let's look at the report. Let's see what it says. But then there's 3 other questions. Is my bird at its best? In other words, am I using my style well? If you're a parrot, I'll give you an example of my parrot child, maybe not using his style as well as he could. We would go to back to school nights and the teacher would say, you know, he's such a fun kid, but sometimes he would cross the line a little bit. And my wife, who's an owl, would be like, oh no, here comes a story. I just know it. And I'm like how? How does he cross the line? And she's like, well, she told us one year, we got this story. He's in math class. And the teacher was teaching a lesson on the difference between different shapes, the difference between a square and a rectangle. And the question was, by the rules of shapes, can a square ever be considered a rectangle? And can a rectangle ever be considered a square? So first question, she turns to the class. Can a square be considered a rectangle? And the answer is yes. 4 sides, two parallel sides, 2 parallel sides, 4 right angles. A square is a form of a rectangle. But then she turns to the class and says, can a rectangle ever be considered a square? And the answer, of course, is what? No, because now we need the 4 equal sides rule. So she turns to the class and says, can a rectangle ever be considered a square? And my son, my parrot child, raises his hand and she calls on him and she says, all right, what do you think? Can a rectangle ever be considered a square? And he looked at her and he said, yes, if it believes in itself. And it's like, okay, buddy, here's the thing. You had the thought, but the thing is, you didn't have to raise your hand to share the thought. That was the error. And so sometimes he would cross the line. And the question is your bird at its best? Sometimes humor would get him in trouble. That wasn't so bad, but sometimes it would. That's when the parrot isn't at its best. Maybe the eagle is direct, but sometimes they can be insensitive. That's when the eagle isn't at its best. Sometimes the dove can be overly sensitive and they get offended at something very minor and they burst into tears. Maybe that's not when they're using their style at its best. Or maybe the owl gets so caught up in their homework that something that the teacher thought would take 20 minutes, 3 hours later, they're still working on it. This child is seeking perfection as opposed to excellence. Maybe they're not using their style at its best. So this lesson 7 is, are you using your style well? Lesson 8 is the next question. We got which bird am I? Now the question is, which bird are you? So can you read other people quickly? Can you meet other children, other people, and figure their style out fast? I used to bring my kids to restaurants when they were little, and server would come by, take our drink order, and they'd be like, okay, he is a parrot. She is an owl. In 10 seconds, my kids could figure out people's style. That's that question. How do you figure out the styles of others? Because if you can't figure them out, how do you adapt? So that's lesson 9. How do we flex and adapt to other people and to the situation based on what's needed? That is the chameleon. The chameleon's adaptable. The question is, what would the chameleon do? How would the chameleon adapt to this situation? You're talking to an owl. How do you talk to an owl? This time you're talking to an eagle. How do you talk to an eagle? And the last lesson is the summary. It's the review. There's a little quiz in there or test if you want to test the kids and see what they've learned. We have that built in. So the curriculum is designed. It is ready to go. It is filled with activities. It's meant to bring the styles into the classroom for children. So that's the speed version of 10 classes of 30 minutes each. So I'm sure
it's incredible.
Yeah, it's super fun. I mean, just filled with activities. Just as an example, here's just a quick lesson overview. I just picked a little piece from the book. We talk about students will be able to, that's the spot there. So in this lesson here, when they finish lesson 1, they'll be able to identify the 4 bird styles. They will be able to understand each bird style and a representation as a representation of a personality type. The materials that are needed in that first lesson, flight school. There's an initial observation graphic organizer. So there's some handouts where they can capture their initial thoughts. And then we use what we call exit tickets, which are summaries, that a place where children can capture their learning and have it all in one place. So all of this is just reproducible handouts. Here's even in the teacher's guide, there's explanations of the 4 birds. We teach you how to read the graphs. We teach you how to understand the styles. We show you what if they're 1 bird, what if they're 2, what if they're 3. We show you how to facilitate the activities. We used what we call, and I love this methodology, it's the say, do, ask model. Here's what you say, here's what you do, and here's what you ask. And then we provide answers. Here's things they're likely to respond. So it's completely spelled out for you. We put it in different colors. When you're introducing the activity, here's how you say it. Here's the questions you ask them afterwards. And then here's the things that you do to make this work. So it's just so simple to use. Here's some sample activities. There's a communication do's and don'ts where the children identify how would you communicate to an eagle? How would you not communicate to an eagle? And then we give them a little scenario, and they have to, as a group, they can do this in small groups, kind of write out, well, what would work? How would this work with kids? And the scenarios, we want to invite a group of classmates from school to a party. Some of your friends are eagles. Some are parrots, some are owls, some are doves. You are telling them all at the same time as a group. So what would you say so you speak to everyone in their style? In other words, how do you communicate to an eagle versus a parrot versus a dove? And we get them to actually practice communication. Like for an eagle, I'm having a party next weekend at my house. I want you to come. Done. Boom. But let's talk about the parrot. It's going to be fun. We're going to have food and games and music. I'm really excited. Can't wait. Want you to be there. Let's talk about the owl. It's going to be on Saturday at 2 p.m. You don't have to bring any presents. My parents, my family and sports friends will be there too. Let's give you the details. And let's be reassuring. Maybe the doves are a little nervous, uncomfortable. I know you guys won't know everyone there, but there will be a lot of us, and we'll be there. We'll be at my house, and I know you've been there before, so you'll feel comfortable. And my parents will be there, and if there's anything you need, my parents will be there to help. I mean, it's just reaffirming and reassuring. How do you communicate to each style? Just an example of one of the activities that teachers would engage in. They're all written for kids. And it's still, like this has been around for a long time for adults, but it was time to create kid versions of this world. So this is an example of what the exit tickets look like, where children capture their thoughts. On the right side, what you'll see is the teachers have reproducible pages. So they could just print this off, cut these up. Each kid gets one of these tickets. On Owl Day, list the 4 characteristics of the owl, and the kids get to capture them, and they keep these tickets and they can store them and hold them. And it's the place where they capture all of their insights as they go through the program. So it's fun, it's engaging. We'll talk about benefits here, but if you have questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A. We'd be happy to answer them. We'll do that in a moment here. We'll walk you through, and if there's anything anybody would like to know, we're happy to answer your questions. But so what do you think so far, Tiffany? I know, Brandon, I know you've seen this many times.
I absolutely love it. I think it's absolutely a game changer. But one of the things that made me really want to be involved in this is because during the pandemic, everything changed and we were kind of forced into adaptability. And knowing the styles and being a practitioner for a while, I automatically knew that the doves were going to be the ones that had the most stress or was going to have the hardest time being able to adapt because they're more reluctant or they're more of having a hard time adjusting. And that's what I've seen in 2 of my children. They were having a hard time. It was the parrot and the dove that was having the hardest times, and both are the girls. And it was because one wanted the social engagement and was no longer able to have that around their school, and the other one just was not as accepting of why are we not in school? Why is everything changing? What's going on? So knowing what I know now, had I had this information prior to the pandemic, I would have been able to help them readjust where it wouldn't have caused so much stress on them and so much stress on the family to be able to adapt and readjust during that time. So for me, this is, as a parent, it's a game changer. And I was just like, I have to be a part of this. I have to be a part of this movement.
Yeah, it's time to, I mean, imagine it's just time to bring this to not just to children, but to help parents be better parents and help teachers be better teachers too.
Absolutely. Having it as a parent, or even knowing your style, it's so that you won't impose it onto your child, as you mentioned before, is assuming that that your child is just like you. Just because you have the same blood running through your veins does not mean that you have the same personality. And your environments change. And we, as long as we stay on top of these things, we can be able to help make better adults, really.
Yeah, and a lot of times what happens for parents is they have one child, they think they've now figured it out. And so now with a sample size of one, they now impose everything they learned onto child number two, who of course is completely different from child number one, and nothing works and it does not make sense. And yeah, it doesn't work because they are fundamentally different. They are not the same style. You know, I had this funny moment once where my wife is an owl, and I have one of my sons is a parrot. And I'll just give you an example of how we impose our style on our kids. And you know, and she's a school psychologist, so she lives in this world. And so my son, you know, we're in potty training mode. Probably would not be happy if I'm sharing the story, but you know, potty training is done. But the thing was, we were having some problems, it wasn't working. So we decided to create a sticker chart. Go to the potty, get yourself a sticker. But look, at some point, you're potty trained. You can't get stickers when you're 14 years old. So we need to stop the stickers at some point. So I hear her, and now he's done. He has done it. He is potty trained. And I hear her down the hall, and I hear her saying to him, he's like, there are no more stickers. You're potty trained already. You did it. There's no more stickers. And I hear him going, as a parrot, there's no more stickers? Wait, why aren't there more stickers? And I walk down the hall and I look at her and she's like, and I was like, I got it. And she's like, you know, tag, you're it. And I looked at him and I go, dude, you got all the stickers. You did it. You got them all. And he goes, I got them all? And I'm like, everyone, you got all the stickers. High five, buddy. And then he looks at me and goes, can I call grandma? And my wife is like, a minute ago he was upset and now he wants to call your mother. I don't understand how this is happening. Yeah, because for the parrot, I was celebrating, you got them all. The owl was like, you're done, you did it, you're successful, we're finished. It's a different communication style. That would have worked totally fine for my owl child. It would not work for my parrot child. And so this is what we're talking about. So,
so my parrot children, Merrick, it's similar. I'm telling you, whenever I want them to do anything, all I have to do is raise the energy in the room. It can be early morning, no one wants to get up, and it can be somber. If I put on the music, it's life. Everybody having a good time, get the dinner done. You know, we listen to the Blimpy brush your teeth song, and now he brushes his teeth. I don't got to push him to do it. He dance. I mean, get dressed. I mean, it's so crazy when you learn, when you have a parrot child,
to the world of the parrot.
Learning fun.
And the eagle's like,
learning fun, they'll do it.
Yeah, and the eagle's like, turn off the music. I've got a couple more minutes left. So here's what we're gonna do. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them, but I'm just gonna share this for you here. What are some of the benefits from a student perspective? And I'll show you some benefits from teachers as well. And so for a student perspective, what do the students get? When they learn about the styles, it's all about enhancing social and emotional learning. I mean, SEL, this is at the heart of it. This is the skill set. It's what is social and emotional learning? It's about learning about yourself. It's about learning about others. It's about how do I get along better with people in my life? That's the heart of SEL. It's helping children discover what makes them special. Think about that. How children will grow up to be strong and confident individuals if they understand who they are and step into the power of who they are. Instead of an adult trying to turn a child into someone else, but rather respect and value this child is special for exactly who they are in this moment. Children learn stronger communication skills. They learn how to communicate to anyone. Learning the styles, I've seen this happen in companies. It makes people happier. People are more positive. The greater levels of acceptance of differences. Look, and what's at the heart of bullying is not valuing differences, is judging others. that we reduce conflict and bullying when we understand people. We create more positive interactions between students. The entire school environment changes. I see this in companies all the time. One of the things that companies say to us when we teach the birds within an organization is drama went away. Yeah, well, parallel that in the school system. What happens when drama goes away? Life is easier for teachers. You bet it is. And it's better for students too. Heightened respect, and it's support for DEI, right? It's the diversity and inclusion initiatives. I mean, to me, this is the heart of DEI. What is at the heart of diversity and inclusion? Accepting others for who they are without judgment. That's what this is teaching. Let's not judge people because they're different. Just because they handle things differently. Different doesn't equal bad. Different equals good. Different is something we should be celebrating. There's also a tremendous amount of benefits for teachers. First of all, teachers get to discover the 4 styles, and they learn how to make the most of their own teaching style. They learn that they may be imposing their style on others, and that they need to flex to teach students who have different styles than they do. They learn how to create an engaging and inclusive environment in which all 4 styles can thrive, as opposed to an environment in which only their style can thrive. My Parrot child had a teacher one year who was an owl teacher, who absolutely, it was devastating. She tried to turn him into an owl all year long, and he was exhausted. He was absolutely exhausted. She didn't honor who he was. No matter how we tried to explain, my wife, a school psychologist, me knowing the styles, could not break that wall of, you have to understand he's different from who you are. Didn't matter. When teachers learn this, they learn how to create an engaging and inclusive environment. They learn how to provide feedback to correct behaviors, to reduce conflict, reduce bullying. Look, at the heart of feedback is either reinforcing or redirecting behavior. If you could give feedback in a way that uses the styles, I would give feedback to either reinforce or redirect behavior different to a parrot than I would to an owl.
Absolutely.
It would be totally different for a dove or an eagle. So let's give feedback to our kids in a way they can hear it. So there's so many benefits to schools, to teachers, to students, and then of course, to parents as well. So for those of you who would like to take the profile, we'll actually put the adult profile, but if you want to take the kids profile, reach out. We are happy to give you one of those as well. If you want to scan this code, we'll actually send out an email afterwards so that you can get a copy of this link. But if you want to scan it here with your phone, you can do that. Or if you want to write down the bit.ly link, you can do that as well. But we'll send it out afterwards. You can take the assessment, check it out. This is the adult version. If you want to do the kids version, you can do that too. So give us a holler. And you can certainly reach out to us. If anybody has some questions, you can add them in if you like. But I hope that today gave you a sense of, why is it time to bring the styles to children? Why is it so powerful and important to bring the styles to children in the classroom and in their lives? So if you go to whichbirdareyou.com, you can learn a little bit about the styles. You can check in with both with Tiffany and Brandon and I, and we can talk more about it if you like. Reach out. Our mission for all 3 of us is to bring the styles to kids. We want to bring this to the next generation.
Yes.
So that when they get to their jobs in corporate America, they already know this stuff. They don't have to learn it for the first time. I'll come full circle and I'll say, the statement I hear more than ever, as I said earlier, is I wish I knew this before. I wish I knew this when I was younger. I have parents all the time who say, I wish I knew this before I was a parent. I have people who say, I wish I knew this when I was a kid. I wish I knew this before I started working. I've had CEOs who say to me, I wish I knew this before I was a CEO. So there's that moment of realization of how powerful this is. And if you learn it early in your life, what it will do for our children.
Merrick, I always say, when you learn this, you truly learn your superpower and how the world perceives you and how they value you. You think about it, if you are a parrot and you really don't know what it is about you that everyone loves, they love your personality. They love how you're outgoing, how you get the energy going. If you're a dove, people love how you bring people together. If you're an eagle, people admire how you're so direct and you're brave. And some people, they don't like it, but I'm gonna tell you, some people are very jealous of it. And then as an owl, people wish they can be analytical. People wish they can take their time and they can have a calm mind. So when you learn that about yourself, it's just amazing how it opens up so many possibilities for you as a person, because now you know what direction you need to head in to be successful, to be comfortable, and you're not making mistakes. So I think this is an amazing tool, and I truly admire you for you creating this. So I thank you and your team, and I'm grateful to be a part of the team.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Tiffany, you want to get the last word?
Yes. Well, the thing is, what I love about this is that not only just the imagery and helping us identify each other, but just imagine being able to help your child in a way that you would have liked to be helped when you were a kid. The one thing I always think about is people don't really necessarily always remember what you actually said, but they do remember how you felt when it was being said. So just imagine being able to have an opportunity to redirect that conversation, that you can not have to sit back and especially our doves, our adult doves, think about, I wish I would have approached my child differently, or I wish I would have been able to direct and encourage and inspire my child differently, or inspire my student differently, especially when we see them growing up and we see what they can be, what they can develop to. We have an opportunity to be able to help them stay on track for the dreams and aspirations that they have within them, and not have to worry about these behavioral issues based on their environments. So I'm looking forward to being able to bring this into every community and schools and districts all around. This is very exciting.
Well, thank you so much. It's the reason we do what we do, is to make a difference in people's lives. And I know that all of you tuning in, that I am certain that is the reason you are tuning in as well, so that you can make a difference in people's lives. So I want to thank you. We'll send you an email afterwards if you're tuning in live here, and we will send you that link. So if you want to check out the profile, you can. Check out the books if you want. They're available on Amazon. And if you'd like to learn how to bring the styles into the classroom, reach out to us, and Brandon and Tiffany can help you out and talk to you about how you can bring this into school. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Brandon and Tiffany, for being a part of the day.
Thank you for having us.